Aspire, I'm sitting down with the Kimora Lee Simmons, and our conversation is about what it really takes to build something that's yours and keep it. We get into what it was really like not being in the rooms where the decisions were being made and having to fight for your position constantly, and then realizing how much of the game is just simply getting a seat at the table and having something of your own to bring to it. She opens up about being told that her ex-husband's success was the same as hers, the moment she questioned if she could actually stand on her own, and the double standards that she consistently faced trying to play the same game as men. We also talk about knowing what you will and won't tolerate, not being afraid to start over, and why your mistakes don't define you, but your decisions really do. Kimora, as you expect, is blunt, honest, and unapologetic, and yes, she has the receipts. So if you're building something big or stepping into your power, this episode is exactly what you need.
I didn't get all this money, but you know who got all this money was my husband. And one thing about Kimora, in all of that reputation, they don't say Kimora's a lot. Kimora has receipts. I'm the queen. I'll tell you who it was. It's from Don. Thank you.
Kimora Lee went from walking the Parisian runways at 13 to building an iconic brand with over $1 billion in sales.
People were like, oh, she dropped it, now that she doesn't need it. Honey, I haven't been needing it for a while, but that's cute.
She was in the room, she built the brand, and yet she still had to fight for her piece of the action.
I wish I hadn't gotten into bed with all these men. You kind of learn to take a seat, and sometimes it was the back seat.
Kimora's honest about what it cost her, and the moment she decided never again.
Every single time that I did something that someone taught me, I was a bitch.
She learned the hard way and came back to claim everything that was hers.
It's okay that you thought you had the relationship of life and drop it on the floor and drop into.
Drop it. You have learned that the hard way because you kind of come full circle and come back for going for help.
Don't be afraid to take your place. Don't let somebody else erase your book. Don't let somebody else rewrite your history. I'm very vocal.
The Start With Yourself tour kicks off on April 15th in New York City. Tickets are on sale now at emmagreed.com. Kimora, welcome to Aspire.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy to have you. It's just like a little magic. Finally, a little piece of magic to have you sitting across from here. I've wanted to speak to you for the longest time.
I feel like we have, but not in this format.
It feels long overdue, and I tell you what, the reason that I've wanted you here is because I feel like I have looked at you and watched you and mapped your career and your business and your life and your trajectory for the longest time.
And Emma mapping.
Yeah, literally. And Emma mapping. I didn't even need the research. I was like, it's okay. I know everything that I want to ask her. I think what makes you so iconic is that you have had so many firsts in your life. One of the first women of colour that was working on the runways and walking the runways in Paris. I think about you as one of the first women of colour that I knew that was running a really giant business. And I wonder actually what those firsts mean to you today.
Oh, that's a good question, Emma.
I'm going to be full of good questions this way.
When I think back to some of my firsts, they were iconic moments. But I did not know that at the time. I thought I was just a busy little bee doing what I do, creating something I love and doing it because of fashion. That was the timing of it again and again and again. And everything was always subject to this idea of critics. Everything was subject to like a review or somebody, writing something or what they thought or a write-up in Vogue. And so I just know to put my head down and do the work, do what comes naturally, do what you love, do what you feel is missing, but don't really worry about the after effect. Because if I had geared my life to like worrying about the after effect, I would have too much. So I think today, of some of these moments as iconic, like wow, I really did that.
I wonder when you've had so many of those firsts, like what gets you up and out of bed now? Like what propels you forward and makes you excited after you've had so many of these like big peak moments?
Well, I think when you're doing the big peak moments, you probably don't realize it. For yourself, you realize that you know that. You realize you're doing something big for yourself at any given moment, right? But then you kind of pass the moment, and then it was like a big deal or an iconic moment or a first. And then the moment kind of passes. it always stays a first for you, but other people come and go, and there's many iterations of that, or you might be like, I did that, I thought of that. So I think it's always kind of a continuum, and I think now what propels me is really my kids and my family, and that's always been there. I've been on the runway with my kids. I was one of the first designers to come out and take a bow with my kids. Nobody was doing that then. Nobody had their little kids or toddlers or their babies. Nobody even came out with like this baby fat, their literal baby fat. No one showed that. I had my life and my family, and things have always changed, and you know, people come and go. I always say this, but your kids and your family, that element is a constant. And so I think now when I get up and I go to work and I think things are tough, or you don't really want to do it, you always think of them.
Yeah, no doubt. You've done so many things and so many of these first. And when I look back, it's like, one second, you built a business, you sold a business, you bought the business back. When you look back at your journey, like, I wonder, do you have any regrets? Do you have any moments where you thought, oh my goodness, like, I wish this had been so different?
Oh my gosh, I have tons of regrets.
Thank you for being honest with that.
I think nobody knows they're called regrets, but I think that's probably why you look, if you see me now and I'm out talking about things, sometimes it'll come out like, and another thing, or, you know, and I want to say this, or, and I'm tired of holding this in. Like, I have tons and tons of regrets, but those are my life. Those ended up being my life. Like, I regret, you know, it could be something like, when I was doing, so long ago, decades ago, I've been doing this for 30 years, just the side of it, talking about fashion, talking about retail business of clothes. If you're talking about modeling, I started at probably 10 in St. Louis and 13 in Paris. A long, long time. But just this idea of fashion, I think back sometimes, and probably some of the things I don't love are some of the things that are great, you know, things. I wish I hadn't have gotten into bed with, literally, but like with all these men. I wish it was a different environment that I could like speak up, or that I could kind of have my own, you know, have my own way, or do things myself. I did that, but it was like a fight, and it was like a big thing, and it was like at the risk and expense of you being a bitch, or you being like someone's scared of you, or you being all these things that like no one ever said about my partners, my ex-husbands, of which I have 3. No one ever said that about them. It was a very man-centric, kind of man-focused. There wasn't a woman speaking out or speaking up or stepping out or getting out. It was, and then that led into like obviously other aspects of my entire life that I wish I could do things differently. But you can't say like, oh, I wish I didn't have these partners. I wish I didn't have that man. I wish I could have chosen a different baby daddy, or whatever is man-focused. You know what I mean? You don't always get it that way, but you think of it in a sense like it could it have been different.
Where we sit with you right now, we're in a very unique time for you, and I know that you've recently dropped your last name, Simmons.
Simmons and Leistner.
Simmons, oh, so you got rid of
People
Simmons.
were like, oh, she dropped it now that she doesn't need it. Honey, I haven't been needing it for a while.
Well,
That's
well,
cute.
I know that. I mean, I don't think it was because you didn't need it.
I dropped
so
them
true.
all.
But it closes a chapter, right? It closes a chapter. So what chapter are you stepping into now?
I'm stepping into now a chapter that I don't know how I got here. Every day I look up and I'm like, how did we get here?
Do you really?
Oh yeah, every day I'm like, wow, I've been here a while. I've done this a while. So I'm very happy to be where I am. I'm very grateful. I'm very humble. My kids, although I have Wolfie at home, he's 10.
And
all the way
how
up
old
to
is
Ming,
Elsa?
she's 26. So Ming, Aoki's 23. Kenzo and Gary are 16. Gary's adopted, so they're not twins. And then Wolfie is 10.
You have 5 children.
At home. Those are just kids at home. I mean, my kids that are at home, but I have lots of other kids that are like out in the world that
What do you mean you have lots of other kids?
I have friends and I have family, and I just feel like I have Jaden that lives in the house with me. You might have seen him on the show. I have the twins, Jesse and Delilah, that I speak about all the time. Combs.
How have you ended up with all these kids under your roof?
They've been there. Not under my roof, just in my life, just in my care, just needing your supervision, eating your food, stopping by, like
Eating your food, they're in your house.
like being part of your family, part of the, community.
What does that say about you and who you are? Are you just naturally extremely maternal? Are you
For sure. I'm that mom. That's like saying I'm that bitch. I'm that mom. When all of this stuff that we are going through nowadays, when we go through this, a lot of people end up at my house, on my couch, in my arms, or in my loving embrace. Yeah, because it just goes that way.
Do you have the energy and the capacity? Beyond the means to look after everyone?
Yeah, I have the capacity. Because I have so much. It's like they also say, like, to whom much is given, much is expected. Everything about me is like a little more than the average bear, right?
No doubt.
My mouth is extra big, my height is extra. I'm 6'5" in my heels. My hair is extra. I'm an extra of a person. So I have capacity, I think, for like all little kids. They're
All
like,
the things.
they're lost and confused. You know, they're little.
No, and they need you.
And they think, yeah.
So take me back to your childhood a little bit, because you know the capacity to be this type of woman, the rich auntie that takes everybody in, that really wasn't your start in life. And I'd love you to talk a little bit about growing up in St. Louis.
So I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. It's the Midwest, the middle of the United States.
The middle.
Yeah, it's rocks and like limestone caverns. And I was very different growing up there. I looked very different. My mom is Japanese Korean, so she's 100% Asian. My dad is mixed, black, white, native, mixed, a black man. But my dad was not in my life like that. He wasn't around. He's passed on now, but I grew up with my mom. A single parent household, single, just my mom. Single income family, and my mom as well for herself, right? It was my grandma for my mom. So I come from a very matriarchal type of family, and not that there are no men, clearly, but where they are not is still okay,
And
right?
it was your mother that kind of placed you in modeling, right?
Well, I went to like finishing school, nothing to do with modeling, but it was like just to sit up straight or to be able to walk in your room and give your resume. It was a little bit more like that, like modeling classes, but sit up straight, take a picture, do this. I had no clue at the time that was going to lead to any sort of modeling. But like growing up in St. Louis and being so different and always being teased for like looking like this or just being a little different. You're not quite black enough, you're not quite white enough, you're definitely not Asian enough. Like what if you're a mix? And a mix then was like half black, half white.
Right.
Okay, Mariah Carey was
Yes.
considered like exotically mixed at that when I was younger, okay? And to me that blows my mind. It definitely was about getting me to a place where there was like-minded people and you could just build a little confidence for yourself. This is a little girl, like 12 years old, stand up straight. I was so tall. So it's like not humping over, not feeling that you have to blend in and be a wallflower.
Do you remember, like, when it all started happening for you? Because you were so young, you were 13 in Paris, and I think 13 when you got to work with Karl Lagerfeld, and that to me just blew my mind.
I was so young. I think it's that someone said to me, it was a photographer's wife, and I think she was doing like the makeup or the styling. And this is when I was young, before I even got to Paris. And she said to me, you have this something about this look, this thing. And if you really wanted to do this thing, you can, because you have it. I think you have it. And well, okay, what is that? This invisible thing that I have. right? I'm really tall, I'm really awkward. What is it? Let's go for it. And I think that was the first person that said, you know, you have this thing. And I don't know if anybody has ever been able to really put their finger on what's this thing, but I kind of went for it.
Did you believe it?
I believed her.
Yeah.
Her name was Meg, and I believed her. She told me that. I looked up to her. I was at, doing photo shoots, like test shots and things like that. Sure, I believe them. Like if somebody looks up from the camera and says, "Oh, you're doing it. You look great." I'm like, "Okay, I look great." That was the first time. No one had ever told me that I looked great or doing something great. Keep in mind, I was just there for like finishing. Sit up straight. Put a smile on when you're nervous or something like that, right? Shake someone's hand. I never knew this was going to lead me to like Paris, and it did. I was just discovered by a modeling agency, and they happened to be from France. It was a convention, so all of these people had come to Kansas City. And you had to show your book, and you had to walk. There was all these different kinds of
You
workshops.
handed your book beautifully.
With all your 20,000 shots in it. And again, they said, you have this thing. You can come to Paris. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to get my mom to say that's okay.
Was she ready to pack you off to Paris?
I don't think so.
No.
But she did, and she worked for the government. She worked for Social Security, which means it's like very regimented, 9 to 5. And I said, please. And I think she thought it was probably, it proved to be very true, safer on the road or in the world of Paris or in the world than it was in St. Louis, Missouri, okay, in 1980, whenever I went to Paris.
Wow. And I guess she knew that you were stepping into something that could potentially be really amazing for you.
Yeah, something that was could be amazing and something that I wanted to do and I definitely wanted to try.
Yeah.
Like give it your best. We have kids. You have kids. If they want to try out for basketball, you're like, okay. You're not going to be like, you can't do that. You're really clumsy. You have 2 left feet. You're like, it's basketball now. Let's get these shoes. Let's get this kit.
Let's go.
So I think she was saying, let's go. And it was a treacherous environment. But like I said, compared to coming from St. Louis, Missouri, I wasn't running around the streets of St. Louis, Missouri. I always used to say that. When I'm home, I don't have a curfew. When I come home, my curfew's midnight. Or whatever as a kid. And I think it was just 2 different worlds.
Take me back to those times. So, like, give me a picture of what it's like in Paris. You turn out and, like, what is actually happening? Are you going, like, on go-sees and getting turned down? Like, what is the actual environment that you're put in? And how do you even relate to that as a 13-year-old from the middle of the country?
Well, you have to have a thick skin, that's for sure. But I had that already from being, chased down the hallway at school for looking different. So you definitely had to have a thick skin. But one of my first castings was at Chanel, was for Chanel. So I was discovered. Carl took me, I went to work there.
Did you know who Carl was at that
I
time?
knew that it was Chanel.
Right.
Just like now, if a girl goes to a casting, I think you're seeing the designer, you're walking, you're trying on some clothes.
Did you understand, like, this is a big deal? Like, if I get this job, then this is something major.
I did not, but I understood it when I got the job.
Right.
Because they said, he booked you. Carl liked you. That's as easy as somebody saying, you look terrible when you went in there. They said you look tired. Like, Carl liked you. And I started going to work every day at Rue Cambon, 31 Rue Cambon, which is still Coco Chanel's apartment.
Absolutely.
It's still the main atelier. It's the main boutique, 31 Rue Cambon. I walk down Rue Cambon every day, get my strawberry tart. I talk about this all the time. And I would go to work there every day. That was my 9 to 5. And then, yes, I shot the campaigns. That was when Carl was at the dawn of being a photographer. So he had started shooting his own campaigns and doing all this stuff. I don't even know if Chanel appreciated that then, but we came to, love it. So I was shooting campaigns. I did the show. My first show was Couture. I was the bride. And that was like kind of the beginning of everything.
And what did those early experiences teach you about power?
So much. So I don't think I knew exactly what I was getting into. I learned so much about decision making and putting your ideas forward and trying new things and working in a system that has a chain of command and being like the House of Chanel and working with Carl, who's a designer, and designing for that house. I learned so much behind the scenes from being with him day in and day out. But again, at the time, that was like my buddy, like my confidant. We were together day in, day out for years. Before my contract ended, and then I could go and do other things. And by then, you're going to get any other things because you've already started there. So that's when the castings really came for me, and they would say yes or no. In the beginning, they couldn't because I was only at Chanel.
April is when the calendar really picks up. Weddings, birthdays, long weekends, the kind of events where you actually want to feel like yourself when you walk in. And for most, so paint the picture for me, because obviously we all know that you ended up with this incredible brand in Baby Fat, but there were years between you becoming a model, being released from your contract, and then starting this business. I'm really interested to understand what that early kind of exposure in fashion ultimately
Do you
impacted
know
in the business.
why I had this different beginning? It's because I know why to this day. First of all, I'm an Asian tiger mom. They say you probably shouldn't say tiger mom anymore. It's late, but
It's okay, you don't have to be.
But it's
you
true.
don't have to be correctly.
and I'm definitely the type that's always saying what's next or what more, what else is there. And I've written about this in my book. I was scared that I had ended up in this place where beauty or what someone's impression of your beauty is rewarded so greatly with so much. That was amazing to me, incredible. I was being given clothes, I was going to school. When I did go back home, which was only for little months at a time, I had on my silk Chanel ballet flats, my tweed jackets. I had no clue that it was fabulous. It was all I could afford because it was free. It was given to me from Carl, right? So this is what I'm going to school in. They're probably like, what the heck is happening? So I didn't realize, I think, the magnitude. I've always thought, what else is there? And I think that scared me, that someone or an industry or a group of people could put so much to do on your beauty or your long legs, or these are all things to me that are weird, and I didn't have them just before in St. Louis. I was ugly. I was the ugly duckling. I was the weirdo. So now it's like, which one is it? And I think I had to think of a backup plan, because I thought, well, just as quickly as they took you in could be as quickly as they ushered you out. And I don't think a lot of people think like that today. Certainly when you see models nowadays, they're not thinking of what's next. You can clearly see that.
Before we leave the modelling time, because I really want to spend time on Baby Fat because it was so ahead of its time and so pivotal. But just back to Carl, were there things like lessons in creative leadership that you actually learned from Carl that you took into your business?
Every single thing. I learned everything. They weren't actually official classes, but being around someone to this day of such greatness and magnitude and presence, I think, in the business just rubbed off on me. And to have that then be like your papa or your uncle or your dad or your whatever you want to call your mentor, definitely, rubbed off on me. So you learn this juxtaposition and you learn this delicate dance, and it's a dance of beauty and power. And I landed myself in this perfect seat, because also, if you think about it, nowadays we've heard all these things about Carl. I feel like he kind of lived his life in that way too. They run it, but I'm running it. So I learned all these things from that point of view. I'm trying to be nice, but
No,
you're being shrewd. You guys know Carl. You can imagine, you can see some of the things he said. He has said things like, if it doesn't fit you, I didn't make it for you. But this is what I grew up with. This is what I grew up with, right? If it didn't fit me, there was space. And if you're standing here right now, well, then that opportunity is for you. And I believe that. What is your opportunity? No one can take that away. It doesn't matter how you got there or you will get there. That is your moment. You can't be derailed from that.
What do you think is your biggest lesson from those times?
Oh gosh. My mom used to tell me, don't accept any wooden nickels. I didn't even know what the hell that was. That means don't accept any BS from anybody just selling you the bridge. And I just,
Did you ever?
I did. I got into, I would say no, but yes, the truth of it is I did. But it never really derailed me, I think, as much as it could have. But I look at that as businesses failing or divorce, right? I've gone through these things. So some of these things were big things I took on that didn't end the way that I thought. To me, that's kind of like a failure. A marked, if you started something and it didn't work, and that's totally fine. We start things all the time that didn't work. You cannot be successful if you do not start things and it doesn't work. If everything works out for you, that's probably not the best, the easiest, most sound proof
Totally, you're not doing enough.
So I think I learned some of these things, the hard way. But again, I was just in it, and I was mature far beyond my years. So I don't think people thought they were dealing with a 13-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old, 18-year-old. And I think that set me up for life. And the lessons that Carl instilled in me, and even just working with me for so long, gave me kind of a stamp of approval that took that need away from getting that approval someplace else.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because I never really had that growing up.
So I wanted to talk to you about Baby Phat and this like glorious moment, but you need to kind of paint the picture for us, because hip hop really was like at the center
Yes.
of culture in the early 2000s.
Yes.
And so talk to me about starting this brand, because it really did get to like high heights, right? We're talking about a brand that at one point had $1 billion of combined sales between, the licensed goods and what you were selling. I mean, it's really something that's pretty epic and not actually so repeatable. So I really want to kind of go back and understand, like, where did that start?
Okay, so I was with my ex. I met him very young. I was 16.
We're talking about last night.
Yes, my first husband. I met him when I was 16. We were off and on for some years. That's way too young now in hindsight, but you couldn't tell me that.
Like you said it.
Yeah, it's way too young.
Yeah.
But I thought I was grown. And I thought, because it's the same girl who's living on her own. When I met him, I was already living in Paris. And I came to New York.
Now I kind of understand why you accompanied your kids on their fittings, because I've had both of your girls at a Good American Cat.
Oh, for sure.
Who turns up? You.
Well, that was years ago.
Come on.
No, that was years ago.
It was amazing to me.
Like when I met you, that was...
Yeah, you would chaperone it. This is
1,000%.
8 years ago? 7, 8 years ago?
At least, yeah, maybe
You came
26.
into the office and sat down and you were like, Emma, show me the looks that you
For
pulled.
sure.
And I was like, oh my God, the booty shots away.
And that's what we had. We had that.
I
And you reminded me so much of myself then. I was like, this girl is fabulous. Like, look at all that she's built and all that she has. So yeah, I go with my kids everywhere because I've learned this the hard way.
Okay, so take me back. So you meet Russell, you're 16, you're too young, but you're in a relationship and you decide...
And I'm modeling the whole time.
Any modeling.
So I go through my modeling, I'm going through my relationship. Things get serious as the years progress on. We actually got married when I want to say early 20s, maybe 21 or 22, because Maine's 26 right now, so early 20s. Russell at the time had a men's clothing line called Phat Farm, PHAT, like Pretty Hot Tintin. That's the PG version. And we wanted to do a line for women. Everything they would come up with was like, you can imagine, it looked like Phat Farm, which was very classic clothes with an oversized kind of a streetwear fit. So we had baggy jeans, but we also had like Argyle sweaters, right? Very classic pieces. Pieces that looked like they could have been Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, some of our friends who helped us get into the business, right? So very classic mixed with like this street edge. When women wanted to wear anything of fashion, now we're talking women that could not only afford high fashions, right? And if you can afford high fashion, great, you have money, you can get whatever you want.
Yeah.
We're talking about those who could not. There was really nothing for them. And then you would drop down from high fashion, there was something called contemporary. Like, Emma, this is before you were doing all this. Actually, you came in when we had these categories, right? These crazy sizes and these things. There was contemporary, and that was still a little bit expensive. That's kind of where you are now. Yeah. And then there's this concept of like, what else is there? There wasn't. Nowadays, that would be streetwear.
Totally.
Nowadays, that would be quicker fashion. It wasn't then at all, right? We designed seasons. It was every a few times a year, collections, matching up around the world with their deliveries. It was different. He had a men's line. We wanted to do women's. If you remember women of that time, again, my graduating class, who were the girls that were hot? Aaliyah.
Yes.
TLC, right? You think of these girls. Even Janet Jackson, some of her performances. Look at their clothes. They always had on something super sexy, but they had on something oversized. Or like a guy's baseball jersey opened up with like a little bra.
Yeah, like overalls, like, absolutely.
Or like crisscross, this backwards dressing, the block, color block.
Yeah.
And all oversized, right? The sideways leaning hat. We don't want that.
No.
To me, at that time, and I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so yes, I went to the big time in Paris, but I
It was the middle of America mentality.
Yeah, there there was nothing that spoke to women that had this edge of fashion or flair or anything of what I liked, nothing else of what they liked. And I realized it was, again, a man's world. And the women would kind of like pink it and shrink it. Like just kind of like wear my size. It was my boyfriend's jacket, varsity jacket. Those are even big today. Letterman jacket, baggy clothes, all of these things. And I kept saying, we don't want that. We don't want that, and here's why. This is what we want. This is how we move. Blah, blah, blah. They would look at me so crazy. And they would say, well, she's a high fashion model. Because keep in mind, I'm high fashion. I came in from couture. I didn't come in from ready to wear. I did that, but my entrance was couture. So they would look at me and say, okay, she definitely knows what she's talking about. Whereas a business move, that's better. Everything was better, but it was under the guise of what a man said. Or what a man said you would do. Or how a man said you would do it. That was my husband. And so they started to listen to me, and we created this concept, this women's brand called Baby Fat.
What was your role then? Did you have like an
I
official
don't think it
role?
was an official name.
No.
Telling them what to think, telling them what to make, telling them what to wear, trying it on, showing you how it was. Like if you look back to like, I don't know, I Got Nothing But Love For You video with Heavy D. All those girls were probably wearing Baby Fat. They had on a little t-shirt, said Baby Fat. That was the thing, we made little baby tees. I wanted to say I coined this idea of the baby tee, but I don't think I actually did, but we made it like,
I mean, you can say it.
where you took these t-shirts and you wore them like literally a kid.
Yeah.
So everything started to become a little sexier. I would take like the leather crazy pants and make a little hot short. I remember I had this little chocolate hot short that all the girls tell me they have it still to this day that I gave them. I would call upon all of my model friends. He would call upon all of his, and Lord knows he had a lot. A lot. It's a different podcast. But,
Or it could be this one.
I mean, that's a whole other day. We'll have to go through. But we called on all of our model friends and our friends in fashion, and we started making things that I liked that I thought represented women better. A better fit. These were women that were women of color, that were not high fashion,
Yes.
and it was streetwear, but with a flair. And it was what these guys had, but in our size and our kind of style. So this was the onset of the tracksuit, the velour suit. This was the 5-pocket jean.
I mean,
This was a jean that had stretchy in it.
There was such an outsized impact on the culture, and I have to tell you, even going back to when I started Good American, which is 9-10 years ago now, when the original idea was festering, some of the original samples, and I went on eBay, I was going on resale sites, I was like, find me the baby fashions, because I knew that the fit of those, the construction of those, was so good. But more specifically, it wasn't what everything else was. It wasn't a straight body block.
Right.
Like it was
And it wasn't
made-
stiff.
No, it was
made
made to hug and
curves.
and to accentuate the curves. Yeah.
Because then that was not popular. And nobody was creating for those women. No one was creating for a woman of color. And no one was creating for a woman of any size.
Did you understand that that was a business proposition there, or was that just more like a creative point of view? Were you like,
No,
no, one
I
second, this is a business strategy here?
No, it became that. I understood there was a hole in the market.
Yeah.
And although, yeah, I'm skinny and I'm slim and I was modeling, because I didn't gain weight until I've gained plenty of weight off and on since then. I have kids, so I've been up and down and all kinds of things, right? I might have been skinny at the time, but my customers and my cohorts and my peers and my demographic was not.
That. What about this piece? Because again, it's like you've been, a gun for hire for all intents and purposes. You're a model, you're getting paid a fee to go and do a job. To this like company that you're essentially creating. How did you structure that? What was the arrangement? Like, did you own a piece of the business?
Yes, of course, yes. But it was the smallest piece of the business, right? Because there was other guys and other partners, and the guys were my ex-husband's, friends.
Did you own enough of the business, given your contribution?
No, definitely not. And that was one of those things that I learned, and that's, you live and you learn. I probably made, I think we ended up selling it. Now we're fast forwarding through everything, right? I think we built that company up and probably sold it for $100 and something million. I probably got 20 million of that, or less. Of $100 something million. And the entire sale was based on baby fat, which you could look at the date, because when we sold it, Fat Farm was obsolete. It was still there, but that was not what you were selling it for. You're selling it for baby fat. And I only learned this because people would tell me like, oh, you have to come to work today. We're having this meeting with these bankers. We're going to sell it. And I'm like, a little confused. but a little excited.
What did you miss when you sit down now? Because you're an incredible businesswoman and you've been there not just for yourself but also for your family. So what did you miss going back in that time?
I missed all of the preliminary conversations. I missed all of the conversations about how great the brand was, all of the numbers that were turned in, all of the numbers on the business.
You weren't paying attention.
No, not that I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't privy to the fact that these businesses took place. It was literally, who of my partners now, then, do we know now? So Bobby Schreiber was one of my partners. He's my kid's godfather. He's a Kennedy. Bobby Schreiber was one. I'm telling our folks today, Leo Cohen was one.
Oh yeah, we know you.
Like, I mean, we can go through these partners of who they were, and you can, I don't know how much of this is public and how much is not. The number that we sold it for is public. You can see, you can deduct my amount and see the amount that's left. And there was a few other partners that were more like Garmentos, people that you might not know their name. But the reason I say those names is because some of these names have gone on in politics and gone on in music and gone on to do these things. So they definitely knew what they were doing. And they were much older than me, right? Leo must be
Way older than
or
you.
anyone like that. I don't
Yeah.
not just, they were 20 years older than me, 15 years older than me.
What was it like mentally and emotionally? Because I think you started the company around 2010, and to me, the Baby Fat name was synonymous with Kimora Lee. Like, I thought, you, Baby Fat, like, that's how we put it
Well, I
together.
remember when I did my first show, and it was like this, like Aspire with Emma Reed, and it was Baby Fat. And I came in to look, and this was when I probably had DJ Cassidy or Robson, who were going through the music, and I looked up and it said Baby Fat. Oh. And I was like, it should say by Kimora Lee Simmons. And that was the logo, but it wasn't up on that wall. From that time forward, we had it. It made like a big deal. I learned to kind of take my seat at the table, if you would, right? And don't you talk about that all the time? And so it wasn't that I wasn't paying attention. I was paying attention so well. It was the fact that I wasn't privy to some of this information. Also because of the way that it started. The way that I started was under Fat Farm. And that's a key point because everybody's always like, well, if she didn't have that, then she wouldn't have had the rest. And that's fair to say, but it's what did I do once I got my foot in the door? That no one did for me. But sometimes I learned, and this is another trick of the game, being in that room. It's not always that you got a chance to be in the room and be the biggest light and the biggest mouth and the brightest thinker. And I'm talking then, 30 years ago, in a room full of men and bankers and people that say, this is great, we're gonna sell this, you're gonna get all this money. I didn't get all this money, but you know who got all this money was my husband. And at that time, I was told and I was raised and taught that that was good enough. My husband getting it was the same as me getting it, but it wasn't. And I did not learn that until later when other things started happening, and I said, oh, you know what? I don't want to be here. I want out. Can I stand on my own 2 feet? Well, I built this and that. I did this. My kids. Well, no. You got this much of that, you got this much of that. When you start to go and look at things and try to split them up or get your business fairness, that's when you realize it's a little different. And it's different having a business and having a marriage. It's different having a business and having a relationship. It's different having a business and you're single, but you're sleeping with someone on the board. There's many different kinds of things. I had a business, which was my first child, then came Ming, and I had a husband. And my husband was like a bigger than life force at the time, right? In his own right, in terms of like music and everything that they were doing, being the godfather of hip hop. So you kind of learn to take a seat, even if that seat was kind of shotgun. And sometimes it was the back seat.
Well, this is what I love so much about Kimora, because I think just that level of honesty and, I think so many women find themselves in a similar position where they know that they are contributing in great ways, but they're not quite sure how to equate that contribution and what it's worth and how it kind of fits into the bigger scheme of what they're doing, and you're surrounded by people that seemingly know way better than you, and to insert yourself is an imposition. It is like, oh my goodness, like I don't really understand everything that's being said. And, my point of view in that is that nobody knows. Most of those people around there are just making it up. And actually, you just having the audacity to sit at the table and take your rightful place when you're contributing in that way, that is the thing. And then being able to raise your hand and be like, hey, wait a minute, my contribution is worth X. It's really hard to measure that sometimes for yourself, but nobody is coming to do that for you.
Correct.
And I guess for you, you have learned that the hard way because you kind of come full circle and come back for Baby Fat, which
Correct,
is
right.
like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever.
Not only that, I've started other businesses
Oh,
that I
and it's
have
been a
learned
launch, right?
now about getting your structuring it the right way, right? A lot of the things I've learned in my life, lessons I've learned in my life, I've learned from very great people who were most of the time men. A lot of the times they were women, but that came later. In the beginning, they were men.
I could be really honest and say exactly the same. I think that men have an ease in which they share information because they do that all the time. They drop the numbers, they tell you who they did the deal with, they'll tell you the lawyer that brokered it, they'll tell you how much they paid the lawyer that brokered it, and there is just this ease of information. And one of the biggest reasons I started this podcast was so that we could start to have an ease of the information, and a mistake that you made could be something that somebody else who's sitting at home in a similar situation where they know their contribution is meaningful, that they can actually take their rightful seat and ask for what they need and not end up in the same situation.
Same situation. And I've seen so many women that you would not believe, women that we know, women that you and I know very, very well, women that I've known 20, 30 or so years, women that are like the most beautiful, the most successful, the sexiest women that you would know. These women are my friends, these women are my family, these women are my comrades. I can tell you crazy shit that every single one of us has gone through with men, in business. No matter how big and successful you seem like you are, some of the pitfalls and some of the things, and that's why I always will be there to help the next woman, because there was nobody there to help me like that.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Money is one of those things that touches everything. Your confidence, your relationships, how you sleep, how you make decisions. And the stress around it isn't just about what's in your account, it's the mental loop, the pressure to have it figured out. That is something that every founder that's building a brand needs to know before they start that nobody tells you.
Read the fine print, I think, is a good one. We don't read enough fine print, and it gets finer and finer, and it's longer and longer, and it's harder to read, but it's important. Even if it comes to something like the usage on your phone, read the fine print. When you downloaded whatever app, read the fine print, because in that app, it probably took over your whole thing. It's probably spying on you, watching your whole family, and you gave it permission. Read the fine print.
So you want to tell us tomorrow what happened?
I learned a lot. We can go back through that later. This generation. I love that. Read the fine print. No one's going to do it for you. What you think that you deserve or what you think you are owed, it comes down to the black and white of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of women, those aforementioned women that I was talking about in the beginning, didn't have that fine print covered. They didn't have the right signatures.
We don't necessarily know what questions to ask, and I think that can sometimes be the problem. What was it like for you emotionally as you exited Baby Fat? You understood that you'd been given, perhaps less than you were worth.
So when we sold the company, I stayed on as an officer of the company. So then that was still, I had a new contract. I stayed there for years. Russell was gone quite quickly after that for some other issues. So I became the head of Fat Fashions, the president and the CEO. And that was great. And then I stayed there for some years, quite a few years. And then when my contract was coming up again, I didn't renew, and then I went on, and I think they sold it after that, and I went around. Because when I got it back, it was from probably one or two buyers, later. And I really started.
You want to get it back?
Well, here's the thing. I started other things along the way, like Just Fat, which is like a Baby Fat version. I worked with them when they started it. Let's say that. And I was there as well as the president, CEO, the creative director. So I realized that niche for that kind of brand. I mean, I'm talking down to my Pantone pink, my script, my font, the fit of my clothes, the style of the shoe or the pump, whatever it is, right? A brand DNA, I guess.
Yes.
And I realized that brand DNA, this is years ago we're talking now, right? 10 years ago, maybe, we're talking something, not today, just, I'm realizing that brand DNA didn't go away. I realized that there is a DNA that I have used, that I have created, that other people have used. And so I think it was just the right calling and timing. I don't know, usually when you want your brand back, it's a little bit tricky because you're gonna end up paying too much and they're gonna get you for the the nostalgia of your name or your parents' name or your first pet dog, Sparky, whatever it was that you put into your business. And you cannot do that. You really do build these things up to let them go, right? It's like letting your child go in the road. So getting it back was something that I knew I wanted, but I didn't know how, and it just took time and years.
And you have it back now?
And I have it back now. And it's a little bit different now because, right, you don't do, now it's more D2C, which I feel like you know very well. It's not so much retail, it's not brick and mortar, which means freestanding stores. You know, it used to be that you worked your way through the system, through the buying and the selling, and then you end up on the floor of a department store, and then you sell off. Now that sell off is lifestyle. That has moved up, right? Those retailers are like mainstream now. Things have changed, but it's also a resurgence of fashion and branding, which was another thing that we created at the time, having the access to all of these artists and things, the idea of the brand, how to use your eyeballs and your visibility to come and draw those people into something else you're doing.
I wanted to talk to you about your girls because you're all in the limelight, and I wonder like how you're thinking, like how you teach them, how you talk to them about business. Is it a conversation that you have?
Yes, my kids and I are very close. We talk every day if they're traveling, which now they're both traveling. They both graduated from college. Minnie went to NYU. He graduated from Harvard. She got in.
Smart girls.
Yeah, she got in like 4 years early. I think she was accepted at 15.
That's crazy.
So she graduated Harvard at 18.
Do you think you protect them from things that they perhaps never needed to think about, or do they face very similar challenges?
No, a little bit of both. They definitely face their own challenges. And you can look up and see them dating or doing businesses or doing their. I let them go. You don't have a choice because they're adults. Nina's 26 years old. Yogi's 23. They're old enough to think like I can do what I want and you can't tell me, but like not old enough to like pay for all the mistakes that you can get into so you can grow into mom.
How has being a parent made you reflect on how you were treated in the industry back in the day?
That's tricky. So from when I was in the business to when they were in the business now was like we've gone through like movements. You know, we've gone through like Me Too. It's a big one. And I have lived that. You know, I didn't have any personal issues of my own, but obviously people very close to me have. And in that, all the
Was that
time,
surprising to you?
Me Too, the movement.
No, the groundswell around the people close to you. Were you taken aback and surprised?
Well, no, because coming out of some of these relationships, some of those big relationships in my life, I've always been pretty vocal about it. And I've always said things that I thought about people that were around me, whether they were my I call them friendlies, or not. You know, I've been pretty vocal. And I've grown up with some of these people, most of these people. I'm being modest. I've grown up with all of these people. Most people, although I was very young, on all of these lists and all of these things, I probably most people are looking at it like, you did it. And I told, but nobody was listening to me. Or sometimes they would, but they would brush it under the rug. It was different, right? It's a patriarchal world that we live in. I don't want to come here and sit here like I'm just bashing all the men, but I'm giving you the hierarchy and the structure in which we live. So me yelling about thinking someone is a freak or someone is a weirdo or someone did something, if it's not egregiously a something, no one's really listening to that. But I said it. You could go back and you could look. I've always tried to maintain, you know, what I thought and my honesty and my integrity of my version of those obscene people around me, what I thought. But it was a little bit, you know, when you say like groundswell, it was like, I don't know, a tornado, like a tsunami or something. It wiped out so many people that we had, so many guys of color, so many black people, a whole industry. It seemed like not every person.
A whole industry and so many white people too, but yes.
Also, but of my, you know, crew, of hip hop industry, of a certain genre of music.
Well, I think that it hits the
legacy.
entertainment industry
Entertainment,
in a really, really big way. And I think that for anyone that was around at that time, it was a moment of reckoning, and it was a moment
For sure.
of huge reflection and like, you know, I think that the ramifications and the ripple effects will be, you know, there forever. And listen, the world has changed for the better because of that movement. Like, I feel that certainly as a woman that we are far better off for that movement. And you know, while there was, you know, people I can complain about there being collateral damage, but all the best movements.
There's collateral damage, but there's collateral damage on both sides. And I know women, many women that were involved on the upside and the down, and I know men that were involved on the upside and the down, both sides, on the side of as an accuser and as victim on both sides. I've known lots of people, I've seen people, and I said, that story is not quite accurately all there. We'll go off. And there's other people that I have said, that story is very mild. You know good and damn well what you did. So sit down and lick your wounds before something else happens, right? So it's been some intense moments of that, to say the least.
I feel like that's an understatement, and we should leave it there.
Exactly. Understatement of the year.
One of the things that I was like literally, I mean, we were all talking about it recently, was this America's Next Top Model doc, and you weren't part of it. And I was
I don't know why.
Got to. What do you mean you don't know why?
I don't know why I wasn't part of the doc.
Were you asked not asked to be?
No.
What?
I was in it though.
Yes, but like I imagined that you would be like
Not
a
at all.
talking head.
And Tyra is one of my kids' godmothers as well. Although we haven't talked in quite a long time, but we used to be very, very close. I started Top Model with her. I was on the first season of Top
I
Model.
mean, this is what I know. I almost had to check myself. I was like, was I confused? Was I living in?
But I was in the documentary, right?
You were
I'm
in
sure
the
I was.
You were kind of in the documentary, but I wanted to see you like sitting there like this now, like telling me what was what.
Yeah, I don't know about that because I think some of the other people who are there dealing with the brand probably don't want to see this right here because maybe it's too, I don't know, close for comfort. I'm not really sure. You have to ask them that.
Oh, okay.
It's really weird. I'm not sure.
It was weird.
I know.
It was
I
weird.
heard a lot about it, but I didn't see it.
Do you think that was just like a portrait of a moment in time? Do you believe that like we're being too sensitive now? What's your thought and your take out? Because you're always
No,
so
I think
vocal.
it was a crazy moment in time. I think that a lot of the things they talk about in it, and that's probably why they don't call me because I'm not bound by stuff. You're gonna say what a lot of them are bound by stuff when you do that, but a lot of what was portrayed leading up to this documentary, I'm not talking about the documentary, I'm talking about all of the talk associated with leading up to this and about the industry and the models and the brand were true. Were very true, and we lived through that, like treacherous moments, you know, with models. But then they had, I guess, this documentary that kind of all of these things culminated. I don't think people were being too sensitive about it. I think it was, you know, mostly true. And I feel like a lot of the essence of that was harnessed into making this documentary. But to me, it was like a double-edged sword. The whole making of that thing, and I think probably they're going to do another season or something like that. So one thing's going to lead into the next. I think it's great branding.
Maybe you could go in season 2.
That's like season 32. I don't even know what season that is. They've been around for a very long time, but it was treacherous and it was a modeling time. I mean, these were girls that were young girls that wanted a contract. It was the dawn. It was TV. The dawn of putting any type of modeling competition like that on TV.
Yes.
So it was a lot of the perfect storm on a lot of things.
But it was a huge hit. Why did you not go back and do another season?
I talked with them about going back a lot, and I just feel like over the years we could never get it, you know, together. Even as it changed, networks and the brand would say like, "You have to go and get Kimora," and they would come and talk to me about it.
We wanted you in there. We all wanted to see
Maybe
you.
in the future, you never know. But I'm also not going to be that mean. I'm not going to like break. I feel like my thing is like the editing and the cuts. You know what I mean? I'm trying to tell the girls, but like have a little bit of heart about it.
Have a little bit of heart.
A little bit.
The way people discover products has completely shifted. Your customers aren't just on Google anymore. They're finding things through YouTube, TikTok, AI search, social, and if your business isn't showing up across all of those platforms. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to just make sure we touch on my favourite subject, which is money. I want to talk to you about the lessons that you've learned over the years, because you've spoken really honestly and frankly about what you perhaps should have got and you didn't for a myriad of different reasons. How do you think about money now in your life? What lessons have you learned, and how have you kind of developed your understanding around money and what you should get?
That's a lot. It's a lot about, that's a discussion about having your seat at the table, not being afraid to pull up and present yourself and your ideas and own them as yours, not being afraid to pull that seat back and have it and sit down. I've learned just so much. I've been at this a long time, like decades. If you count how long I've been modeling, I'm probably one of the ones that have been around the longest. If you count how long my little brand, because I'm not Ralph Lauren, right? It's been going on 30 years, I think.
Did you make enough money given your contribution over all of these years and decades?
Definitely, I feel like not, but I will say that most of the people that I've done business with in the past that I thought maybe got way more than me at the time, and we all chose to do whatever we did. My thing was always building and investing because I'm a mom. I am better off than almost all of those people now, exponentially.
Why is that?
I think they made different decisions in life, whereas I was always more of a protector and like, you know what they say about a woman, like if you give us a house, we'll make a home. If you give us a seed, we'll make a baby, we'll make a family, we'll multiply that. I was busy multiplying and saving and investing. I did that by investing. All of my businesses, I'm a big shareholder in the public. It's Celsius, or we have Rockstar, we have drinks, I have skincare brands. Those are mine. And I learned, I think, about the power of money, but investments, those are investments.
Who taught you that?
Oh wow, I learned that by trial and error. I learned by all of the things that we just said, and all the guys and all the people that have taken advantage of it. I remember once when I was younger, to early 20s, my partner, mate at the time, which you can figure out who that was because we did the names, came in and said, okay, you have to get a lawyer, we have to talk about some of these things. When you find that lawyer, here's my lawyer, and you can call them up, and then we have to talk about some things. Contract things. And I was like, okay, I had no clue, contract things. I looked at the lawyer and I was like, who is this lawyer? This lawyer at the time came from one of our really big, prominent friends, had given them this lawyer. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to discuss. And so I called the prominent friend's wife because I didn't know. So you got this lawyer. I'll tell you who it was. It's from Donald Trump. Thank you. Donald gave us this lawyer. Donald gave us this lawyer. Okay. Years ago. Not me. He gave it to my ex. So comes and says, yeah, you have to have a lawyer. You have to go get this to talk about X, Y, Z.
So you call who? Melania?
No, this was
Ivana.
I know all the wives, all the children, all the marriage, we were friendly. We were around.
Okay.
As I have been with several presidents and many, it transcends the sides and the teams and the parties, and it transcends a lot. You can Google, a quick Google search will show you that
we know you were there.
So yeah. And it'll also show you that you can have friends or friendlies, and they don't necessarily do all of the things right in the public eye that we think they should, or that they said they would in the private sector, right? It's different.
No doubt. But I remember, sorry, 1 second.
I remember
call up.
She said, you have to get this lawyer. I got this lawyer. Donald gave me this lawyer. Go get a lawyer, and then when you get the lawyer, we can talk because we have things to sign and things to do. I had no romantic.
Okay.
So I called Ivana, and she has this accent, and she says, darling, don't worry. Who's this lawyer who give you a... She looks at and she says, oh, I know this lawyer. He was there when we got married. I will give you my lawyer. It's so-and-so. That's the lawyer who works with this lawyer all the time on the other side. So I took my lawyer back. I went and hired the lawyer, and I went back and I gave him the lawyer. I got so many phone calls, okay, from my ex at the time and so many other people that said, what in the hell are you doing? Do you know the lawyer that you got? You know how expensive this is? Do you know what all they're going to put us through, arguing back and forth over the terms of this contract that I didn't even know I had to do? Why would you do that? Where would you get this person? How did you even do this? And I said, this contract's full. I was young. I was not married at the time. It was the last minute contract that someone comes in and says, you have to sign this.
What did you do?
It was a prenup that I didn't know I needed. That I had, and when I divorced, you could go and see my divorce records are filed in this data down at the courts. You can see I got nothing from this man when I got a divorce. I did not get paid.
Did you keep the lawyer?
I have the lawyer. I know the lawyer to this day. The point is that
such a shit deal that you ended up with.
no, they didn't do a shit deal, but I didn't get anything out of it. I didn't get payments. I didn't get spousal support. I did get child support. That's very public. But that's it. And I only got that sometimes. I didn't get that all the time. But the point is, he came in screaming, livid. I was so upset. He was so upset, saying, why would you get this lawyer? And that's the point of what this long story of me coming to tell you. I did not know. You got a lawyer. You told me the lawyer came from so-and-so. All I knew was to go to so-and-so's counterpart and get another lawyer recommendation. So the question was, how did you learn? And then these lessons that we worked our way through.
The fucking hard way.
I I always learn by my counterparts, which are men, and they're not always the most scrupulous, but I've navigated my way just to kind of do a quid pro quo, or even just kind of a pull. You know, they say 10 toes down. I've had to hang on 10 toes down. And I learn every time, okay, if they do this, you do this. And I've also learned lots of times in the business, every single time that I did something that someone taught me, I was a bitch. I was impossible. Women don't do that. You are costing too much. Why would you do this? But I learned it from them meaning the men, them meaning the partner, them meaning the husband, whoever it was at the time, the senator, the this, the that. I learned it from someone else. And then when I came around, they're always yelling about, why would you do this? This costs so much. This is overkill. So you were going to overkill me. And what was I going to do? Just sign on the dotted line? Down. So that's why I said read the fine print. And that's why I say, even though I've been through so many experiences with these people and these guys, I also wouldn't have it any other way. I've had the best teachers in some of these guys, and some of them have not been so scrupulous. That too has been a teacher for me, and some of the lessons that I learned. And everybody knows that. Everybody knows now, like, don't mess with Kimora. She's gonna come in and tell you how it is.
Oh, I think that's your reputation.
For sure. I've learned it the hard way, and I've learned it from being, BS'd through so much that you have to eventually speak up and say, I'm not going to take that.
Has it hardened you, do you think?
Oh my gosh, I am, yes. But I am a Taurus, so I think I have a hard shell, and inside, if you're able to get in there, is a softer
But it
side.
takes a bit, right? It's not like...
That's why I've been married several times, and I have all my kids. I believe in love. I try again. If you ask me to marry you right now, Emma, I would say yes. You're married already, but I would say yes.
I'll send you my lowest details.
You know? I try and I believe in it. And then sometimes things come up, and it's okay. Don't be afraid to restart. Don't be afraid. And I've had this conversation with many of our friends that are good friends in common. It's okay. It's okay that you thought you had the relationship of life and drop it on the floor and drop him too.
Drop it.
Don't be afraid of, your mistakes, and know what you're going to tolerate. And another thing, you will be surprised how many times it's too.
Jag ute som kallar mig.
Ha?
Jag är ute som kallar mig.
Desvitas.
Du kan lämna den.
Ja. Brusili.
you how it feels, because to you an affair might be a big deal, and to your neighbor, it might not. Different women accept different things. I learned early on when I wasn't going to accept them, so I had to get the hell out. I had to like move the hell around. Everyone doesn't feel like that. Some people, I'm like, do you understand that he was doing all of this? Look at all these pictures, and they're like, my dear, calm down. So I've learned all the different. I've learned the hard way through many of these lessons. I love them all. I'm very, very thankful. I'm very, very humble. I'm grateful. I wouldn't have it any other way. And one thing about Kimora, in all of that reputation, they don't say Kimora's a liar.
No,
They don't say Kimora's a liar.
no, they don't.
So if Kimora said you stole it, or Kimora said you cheated it, you cheated it. And Kimora has receipts. I'm the queen. I'm the queen of receipts. And so are some of our friends, and you know what I mean, right? We are documenters.
You are nothing but documentary makers. Don't say with us. You keep the facts, you keep the files, you keep the Bible, and you.
I learned. And I learned when to let that go, and I learned when to hold on, right? You learn these things. Just keep the tattoo in your pocket.
I'm interested to understand what having like this big life and this big career that you've had for so long now. Like, what does success even feel like to you in this chapter of your life?
It's hard to measure, like, success. I think it is when other people come up to me and say, you've made a difference in my life, or I read your book. I made a book, Fabulous, years ago, and it has so much of me in it, and all of my anecdotes and all these things. When someone says, I read your book, I saw your show, I heard, this interview that you did, and it helped me start a business, get out of an abusive relationship, get out of an unfair, unjust situation, start a new business, start a new relationship, get married, get out of a marriage, whatever these things are. When you hear of other people that have taken your tales and your journey and have made a better life for themselves, I think that's a good way to measure success. Like, we've made it, and I can name a lot of people. I can name a lot of women that have, like, my baby fat tattoo. I think that's success to me. That's how I measure it. My kids, when I see my kids are happy and healthy and thriving, if I can help the next person do that, and I see a lot of that in you, if I can help the next person, that is success.
I wonder what you aspire to now.
I aspire to have peace. I aspire to have happiness, and I have these things, but it's a job. It's an effort. It takes an effort, right? It's not just given to you that you would have peace. It's not just given that you would have stillness. It's not just given that you would have clarity. You have to work on some of these things, especially in the chaos that we live in. So I think I aspire to have those things, and I'm building those things for myself. I aspire to have a big family. I came from a small family. I think that's why I have so many kids. I aspire to leave this place a better place than I found it. And I feel like my life, just my being, is aspirational, right? The fact that my mom is an immigrant, she was not born in this country, no one else in my family was born, on my mom's side is from here. The idea that you can come, that you can have nothing, and this is a story that we don't talk about now. We don't talk about now how you can make it out of nothing. We don't talk about the immigrant families that made it. Like, now that's not a popular topic, but it's my topic. The fact that you can make something out of nothing. Remember that. And remember this place that we are in. Yes, it takes all of us, and we have to work together and do all these things, but it was built on the backs of brown people, people that look like me and you. Don't be afraid to take your place. Don't let somebody else erase your book. Don't let somebody else rewrite your history. I'm very vocal about that. And I'm not like overly an activist. I need to fight everything and everybody. But if you say something I don't agree with, and we just talked about lots of these people were my friendlies, I don't have a problem telling you that you said that and that was screwed up. I don't have a problem telling you that that person that you're talking about, that person over there is the same as my mom over here in my family. Are you sure you're clear about what you're saying? Okay, you did that just on the stage and in the moment. Watch yourself. I don't have a problem saying that, but so many people do. So I think take every day as it comes, but know where you came from and where you're going, and don't be afraid to embrace, your journey, your imperfections, but your history, because that's how you know where you're going. They definitely say that. It's like one of those cliche things, but it's true.
It's so true. Okay, I'm moving to rapid fire. The first thing you do in the morning.
Drink water for blood flow. It thins gets your blood going. And then I reach for my phone, which is terrible. I didn't want to say that. That's the truth.
That's all right. You're truthful. Last thing you do at night.
Oh, the last thing I do at night, reflect. I guess it's like prayer.
Yeah.
I reflect on my life, what you want it to be, how you go to sleep, what you're taking into that other realm of sleep and beyond it really sticks with you, and you can really do magical things in that time. So I think I reflect.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's the best business advice you've ever ignored for a good reason?
Quite a few times I have ignored, you should do that, it's going to make you a lot of money. And it just wasn't the right fit, it wasn't the right time, and it was a mess in the end. I've never regretted it.
A full day with no makeup or a full day in flats?
A full day with no makeup. I don't wear makeup unless I'm working. But my heels I kind of love.
Yeah, you're a heel girl.
I do wear flats though, but yeah, I love my heels.
Tell me about one of the wildest days in your life using one word. Who wrote these questions? This is a new one. Using one word, tell us about the wildest day in your life.
Fucked. Who thought of that? I don't know.
That's the best answer.
Fucking chaotic. Fucking hilarious. Just how can I use fucking in a word, one word? That's for the good and bad. That works. Okay.
Listen, I'm fully taking it.
Don't judge. Don't judge.
Zero
You
judgment.
listen and you don't judge.
Okay, last question, serious question. What is a book that changed your life?
So many of them. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Don't Believe Everything You Think is a more modern one. Easy read.
Power of Now is like an all-time, great one.
I remember back then Eckhart was our friend, and we took Eckhart to Oprah.
Now,
And then she became his guru. And then she did a book club, and she did all these things, and then he blew up. But
I mean, that's how I discovered him through
He
Oprah.
was
So essentially,
transformational.
You introduced us to
1000%.
Eckhart. Thank you.
1000%, yeah.
Again, all roads lead back to
But it was Russell's guru. It was our guru at the time, and he was a transformational person.
Yes.
So simple,
Yeah,
but so transformational.
So
1000%
genius.
We made that introduction.
there you go. I'll take that one. Amazing. Kamora, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Emma.
Just mesmerizing. Thanks for joining me on the Aspire podcast. For more strategies on how to build the life of your dreams, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am so excited to share my debut book with you all, Start With Yourself, which is available now. You might have seen the headlines, you might have seen the social, but this book is exactly what I intend for yourself, pushing for wins, and it is pointless and is running the type of business that she dreamed of. But it didn't come easy, and what's in the hope that you can borrow from a philosophy that has served me so well. The truth is, I'm not an expert. I've just lived it. I've made the mistakes, I've had the failures, and I've learned what actually works. It takes a lot. It takes the most. And this book is for anyone who's tired of feeling like a passenger in their own life. It's about taking responsibility for your thinking, managing your emotions, and getting clear on your ideas, and then knowing your next step. It's about picking yourself up after failure, being accountable, but also forgiving yourself, pushing for wins, and never ever apologising for your ambition. It's also about challenging the rules that you've been told. There is no perfect time. Balance isn't the goal, alignment is, and there's nothing wrong with you wanting more. I'm precisely sure that the reason I've been so successful is so I can share it with you. Start With Yourself, my debut book, is available now. Visit emmagreed.com to purchase the book. Also available on Amazon, your favourite audio platforms, and all good bookshops. You will not want to miss this week's episode of the Aspire podcast with the one and only Victoria Beckham, who is finally, after all these years, running the type of business that she dreamed of. But it didn't come easy, and what's exciting about today is that Victoria has real honesty about what it actually took and the failures that she come across along the way. Stay tuned, you are going to hear her story like never before. And my darlings, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Guilt is such a negative emotion. It is pointless
And then she said, and darling, it's very aging.
Victoria Beckham spent decades proving herself. She built a luxury fashion house from the ground up and only just about survived the public losses and unforgiving headlines.
I'm in the black, we're profitable, I don't want to go back there.
Now, men go out and they start businesses and lose loads of money and they start up the next day having been able to raise funds. And if a woman does the same thing, it's really frowned upon. She learned the hard way what it really costs and used every lesson to build a brand valued at over $700 million, all while the world was watching. Do you feel vindicated?
I've never expected anything to be easy, and it's made me who I am now. Me and David are stronger because of that.
But it's not just Victoria building anymore.
She came to me with a little PowerPoint presentation. She said, I want to create a brand because I don't want other people to have to go through what I have been through.
Are there imminent plans for this brand to come out? And now she's on the other side. But the real question, what did it cost her to get here? I wonder how the scrutiny that you constantly face has shaped the type of mother that you are. Victoria Beckham, welcome to Aspire.
Thank you so much.
I have to tell you, I am so excited to have you here. I flew in specifically so that we could do this interview, and I've told you already, you were my top 5 guests. When I started this podcast, I wrote a list, and I was like, I really want Oprah, and I really want Michelle Obama, and you and David were both on that list, and I am beside myself that you're here today. No.
So I bet you say that to everyone.
First
Emma.
of
Come
all,
on.
I do not. I've
Okay.
filmed many podcasts. I really don't. I'm really honest about it. Listen, I'm still waiting for Oprah. Like, let's tell
And
you.
David Beckham. I'm so sorry. You just got me.
I'm in TikTok. I mean, hello, David. No, I really don't say it to everybody, but I have been a fan for the longest time. You know, I grew up in London. I was born in the 80s, and the Spice Girls in my childhood was, I cannot tell you, and I know you hear this all the time, so pivotal. And for many obvious reasons, everybody wanted to, label me a scary Spice. And I was like, babes, I'm posh Spice. Like, I am posh because of the Gucci and the whole thing, and I am just beside myself. You have been just someone I've looked up to and admired for the longest time, specifically for your career, post your music career. And so I cannot wait.
Well, thank you. So honestly, that means so much. I have to say, I'm a huge fan. I mean, I listen to every single one of your podcasts. I really do. And honestly, I find you so inspiring. Everything that you have achieved is incredible. So I'm super excited to be here and chat with you.
Honestly, the feeling is mutual. And listen, I've got so many questions, so I'm going to jump right in.
Okay.
Because you are coming off the back of a show, and the reviews have been incredible. I feel like you are really in a moment right now, post the documentary, where, thank you, you gave us such an insight into your work and how you approach your business. And I guess my first question for you is really to understand, like, where are you in your life right now as a businesswoman, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, and how are you feeling?
Do you know, I feel great. My business has been, gosh, it's been a roller coaster ride, and I touch on that in the documentary. You know, I was in the Spice Girls, and by the way, you look just like posh Spice. You're looking very posh today, Emma, I have to say, very posh.
I just got this little, Victoria Beckham thing that they say.
Casual. Well, you look beautiful. I was in the Spice Girls for 4 years, and I'm so appreciative of my time with the girls.
Was it only
It was
4 years?
4 years.
That's unbelievable to me, because it feels like it could have been 14 years.
Exactly, it was such a short amount of time, and it was so great, and I loved the girls, so thankful and appreciative of all of them and what we achieved and the fans. But I've been so defined by that 4-year period, and I've been in fashion for 20 years. And the business has been through so much. It has been nothing short of a roller coaster ride. So when you say to me, how do I feel now? I feel great now because, I've been in the red for a long, long time. I'm in the black. We're profitable. I don't want to go back there.
No, fair.
I don't. It's been a fun ride, but finally, as an independent brand, to be able to say we are profitable and now I can start building the house that I've always dreamed of is very exciting.
It really is exciting, and I love the honesty there, because I feel like certainly for this show, so many young founders and entrepreneurs listening, and what I really appreciated in the documentary was that level of honesty about how hard it is, seemingly even for somebody like you, which I know actually has no bearings on real success and real longevity. I wanted to ask you though, before we dig into the business side of things, what actually drives you right now? Because despite it only being 4 years, you are literally one of the most famous women in the world. And I'm imagining you're not hard out for a bit of money. And so I really want to know, where's the ambition come from? And actually, what is driving the level of dedication that we saw in that documentary to your business?
I love empowering women through fashion and beauty. I love the industry. I've learned my craft. And I'm very, very ambitious. You said, how do I feel now? I feel a level of contentment, but that doesn't mean I'm not dreaming bigger than I ever have done before. And so I'm excited that after all of the struggles, finally, being in the position I'm in now, I can now really start building, and I see so much opportunity in both fashion and beauty. We know the appetite is there. And so now is the fun part.
Oh yeah, now is the fun part. What is it that you're building towards when you look into the future and you think about what you're capable of and what your brand is capable of? What are you aiming for at this point?
For me, this has never been a vanity project. This has always been a true passion. It's about creating ultimately the best in class. So ultimately what I want to build is a legacy brand. It's always been about the why of everything I do, not just the brands, but the product itself. Why am I doing this? No one needs more stuff.
No.
For the sake of stuff, it's got to be good. It's got to be ultimately what I desire, what I can't find, and it's got to have a point of view.
Do you remember a time when there was this perception shift? Because I think it certainly wasn't easy for you coming into fashion and being taken seriously, despite the insane and amazing outfits that we all loved. You starting a fashion brand was hotly questioned, contested, in the media. What was the moment for you when everything fell into place and it was like, they're taking me seriously now?
Do you know, I suppose I'm always going to be mindful of preconceptions because of my background. I came from the music industry, married to a footballer, stepping into
you could say.
And I was so aware of that, but I didn't listen to the noise. I stayed focused. I knew what my purpose was. I knew what my dreams were. And the first collection that I showed, which was 10 dresses in 2008, I had a hotel suite in New York. I did it in a really, really humble way. I didn't know which way that was going to go. I didn't know what people were going to think. Like I said, I was so aware of the preconceptions. But right from the beginning, people were surprised at the quality of what I was doing, But I will always feel that I have something to prove. I feel that I've earned my right to be where I am, but I have to work even harder now to maintain that.
Do you have any idea what you'd be doing if you never became a Spice Girl and you weren't doing this?
Oh my goodness. I'd be one of two things. I'd probably be a makeup artist because I've always been obsessed with makeup, or probably something marketing, something like that.
Yeah, but you'd be in the business.
Yes, for
this
sure.
is just like in your veins.
For sure. I'm a creative person. I've never been the most academic. I've had to learn along the way, educate myself later on in life, as has David. The Beckhams, we're like a little family of builders.
Yeah.
I think you're a builder too, right?
I'm a builder. I love the idea of being like a family of builders.
Yeah.
That feels so good.
That's what we are. We're creative. That's what we like to do.
I was so interested when I watched the documentary, just seeing the level of involvement, you in the businesses, but also you being a mum and this sort of relationship that you have with your husband that you're clearly so invested in, and it's such a family thing, like the fact that your family are turning up and David is there cheering you on and helping you out when you needed him to be. But I think people still have a fascination with what it is that you actually do day in and day out. And I'd love you to just talk me through, like, just like a typical Victoria Beckham day. Like, what does it even look like for you?
Okay, well, I'm a creature of habit, and I really like routines. So we get up every morning, we make Harper breakfast. David, if he's not travelling, does the school run. I go down to the gym, and I do about 45 minutes workout.
What kind of
on
workout are you doing?
I lift weights. I
Oh,
lift weights.
you listened to what they're saying out there for the 40-year-old women.
Absolutely. So I lift weights for 45 minutes before David turns up. He then turns up and we do it out together. So
Oh,
let's just say,
stop it. You are an hour and 45?
well, rather than focus on how much I do, let's look at David Beckham as the part-timer in the gym. That's how I like to look at it. So then we work out together, and then I go to the office. My office is 10 minutes away from where I live. I have an incredible team of people. I have an atelier, and that's where I go 5 days a week.
You go in 5 days a week?
Yeah, I'm in the office 5 days a week, and I don't travel enormously. I spend quite a bit of time in New York because my beauty business is based in New York, and my fashion business is between London and Paris. So yeah, so I'm in there every day. I have to be.
Yeah,
I
you
have
do.
to be, and I want to be. You know, I have incredible teams of people. It's so much more multifaceted, both businesses, that I think most people would really recognise. And I'm so heavily involved with every single aspect of what both businesses do.
So talk to me about how that shifted, because I think in the early days when you have a tiny brand and people play multiple roles, there's one role for you as the founder, and then as things scale a little bit, and of course you've got both beauty and fashion and your family and your, you know, whole life. So what has the shift been in how you work today in the businesses versus what it looked like in the beginning?
It's not about putting out fires every single day.
Fair.
You know, over the last 20 years, I've had many different CEOs, and you know, you bring people on, you delegate, which is hard as someone who is a control freak. I'm sure you find the same thing.
Totally, but it's an imperative, right, to get
It's
stuff done.
imperative. You have to put trust in the person that you've put in that position. You know, when I first started, my fashion business was being run by an entertainment group. And you know, I didn't know fashion either. I'll include myself in that. And these were people that didn't know anything about the fashion industry. And I can honestly say that after a long, long time, I finally have an incredible team of people with an enormous amount of experience in the industry, phenomenal amounts of talent. And so for me now, it's fun. It's fun because I'm very ambitious, and now I feel that I have a team of people around me that I need to really build something meaningful.
It's well documented about, you know, the losses that you had and how difficult it was in the start. Do you, as a founder, sit with that responsibility for that, or like how do you feel about those early decisions?
Look, I think there was a naivety when I first went into this. And I think if I had known then about the industry, what I know now, I probably would have been too scared to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that there was something very nice about that moment. But gosh, I mean, we've made so many mistakes. But here's the thing, I've learned so much, and I'm never going to put the blame on anybody else. I'm the person in the room that says, hey, I could have done that differently, and I should have done that differently. I was learning at the same time as well, but I'm just so lucky to have such incredible talent now, and I know what I know, but I really know what I don't know. I don't pretend to know everything, and I think that is key. So what I don't know, I surround myself with fantastic people that do.
None of us are born CEOs, right? Like out the gate, especially when you came through. I mean, maybe like, you know, a girl that had like high ambition, but it's like you have to learn and you have to make mistakes. And I think that so many people sit with ideas and they never get out of the gate because of the fear. And I love what you're saying that, you know, it wasn't an ideal circumstance in the beginning, that you learned much later, but you did it anyway. And I feel like so many of us are not as honest about our mistakes as we should be. And anyone who's doing stuff and actually making big and bold moves has like a whole history of mistakes and problems behind them, What have been your hardest lessons to learn, do you think?
Oh my gosh, I mean, the financial losses, you know, and it's been so public, and I love listening to, I've heard you speak so much about mistakes that you've made as well.
Right.
And it's good to reflect on that once you're out of it, but it's hard when you're in it, and you've got to make sure that you stay focused and you keep your energy up, but I think that everything's been so public, what my business has been through, and it's a double-edged sword, when you are a known person and your name's on the label. My business hasn't been through anything than probably any other fashion business has been through. It's just been more documented because it's me, and I never complained about that. I just kept focused, I didn't listen to the noise, I knew what my purpose was and why I was doing what I was doing. I never lost sight of that.
I love that it also didn't deter you from continuing, because I do think that, in a way, female founders, and you more specifically because of your high profile, are under such scrutiny. And when I look at what it looks like for men, men go out and they start businesses and they fail in businesses and they lose loads of money and they start up the next day having been able to raise funds. And if a woman does the same thing, it's really frowned upon. It's like, she doesn't know what she's doing. The reality is that we all come into business with a different kind of knowledge level, and actually losing money is part of building a business.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to the point where you're like, this is actually not for me, like I'm not supposed to be running a company and perhaps I should consider another path?
Well, there were definitely days when I just didn't want to go into work, and there was no guarantee that I was going to be able to sustain what I had. But I think I had no choice, because if I wanted to save what I'd heavily invested in for all those years, I had to get out of the situation that I was in, and it got to a stage where I have incredible investors. I have a business partner, David Bowerhausen, who has been just fantastic, and I found myself in a phase where I was in default. And so basically that means that, then I'm in a position where I don't have control over my own company. And he
Which
said,
is disastrous for you because your name's on the door.
absolutely. But however, I trusted him.
Yeah.
And he said, to save this business, this is what we've got to do. The strategy has to change, the structure of the company has to change, the design team, the atelier, the marketing, everything had to change. And I didn't have a choice if I wanted to save the business. So at that point, I had a choice. I either listen and I go with this, or I lose my business.
There was a moment in the documentary where David actually had to come in and help you financially. And, because I go so far back in your history, I remember when the two of you got together and you were the big one. You were like the international pop star. I mean, David was not the David Beckham that we know now. He was like a really promising, amazing footballer, but it was like, you were the star. And I wonder what that was like, having to go to him and have him prop up what you were doing.
Yeah. Do you know, it's interesting because I did an interview yesterday, and the woman that interviewed me said, you and David share everything, right? We're both partners in each other's businesses, and financially we have always shared everything. And I said, yeah. And she said, so why has everyone always said David supported your business? She said, doesn't that mean that you both supported your business? I was like, actually, yes.
Wait a second. Good point.
Yes, because
you're partners. You're equal
we have
partners.
been partners in everything that we've ever done, and we've always supported each other. And I believe in his dream, his big dreams, and his ambition, and he's always done the same for me. But at the time when we were supporting my business, we weren't in the same financial position that we're in now. And it was difficult, but we'd already invested so much that to save what we'd invested to that point, we knew we had to keep on investing. And I just didn't know how to get out of this hole. I felt like I was sinking in quicksand. I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah, no, I know that feeling of having something that is not working and seemingly feels out of your control, but you've already put too much in to walk away from it. And I feel like I've had times in my own business where, you know, I've had to downsize and, you know, fire a lot of people, walk away from something that feels really promising, and it is absolutely gutting. So it's amazing that you were able to, you know, make that shift. And obviously it's kind of working out for you, so.
I used to think if you've got a great product, it'll be successful. And that was such a naive thing to say, because ultimately, of course, it's about the product, but you've got to have the right team around you to make that a success. And though the business was going through so much, you know, financially, no one was criticizing the creative.
No,
Because
that's true. People loved it. People were like, that's a good dress.
People loved it. People desired what I was doing. It was just the business that wasn't in a good position.
Fair enough. So how has your relationship to money changed? And I mean specifically within the business, because of course it's very different when you've got money as a person and you're making money as a pop star to when you're actually managing an entity and the flow through of money. So what does that feel like for you now?
You know, look, I'm not a CEO, I'm not a CFO. I'm very lucky and blessed that I have now, finally, great CEOs and great CFOs. By the way, I've had a lot of great people along the way. It's just not always been the right person at the right time. That is important that I say that. You know, I want people to be honest around me all the time, and people have not always been honest.
Can you take the honesty?
That is the only way that I can be. You know, I don't want people around me that are sycophantic at all. I need people to be really, really honest. And I think in the past, people haven't been honest because they're, you know, I am a known person, and you know, people thought that I always wanted the best of everything. Well, we all want the best, but that's not always the right thing to do, and that's not right. That wasn't right for the business. I just didn't know at the time. So that is really key for me now, that everybody's brutally honest, whether that's good or bad. Just give me the truth. I'm such a positive, glass half full person, and I'm all about energy. Papa says to me, how come you wake up in the morning and you spring out of bed? She always said to me the other day, we were in the kitchen, and she said, we just watched Inside Out.
Oh, so good.
And she was like, Mummy, you know, you're joy. And I was like, thank you, Harper, that's so sweet of you to say that. And she said, yeah, you know, you're always so happy. It's first thing in the morning, you're always really positive. And David was making the breakfast, and he said, well, who am I, Harper? And she looked at him. Now, you know that little square, red, angry guy?
Stop it. Don't say that to me about David Beckham.
No, this is only first thing in the morning. He's just not a morning person. He's such a happy, joyful person. But in the morning, he's a little bit more grumpy.
Fair.
And he turned to me and he said, well, how comes your joy? I'm like, well, don't steal my joy. You're the
Don't dare steal my joy.
Yeah.
But this means that you choose joy, right? Because there's plenty for you to be
God.
worried about as a founder, as a mother, as a woman, like where we are in a kind of political climate right now. There's plenty for you to be miserable about, but that means that you wake up and you choose joy. That's what you do.
When I go to work every day, you know, I'm very aware that my energy is so important to the whole company. I mean, people have come into my atelier and said, wow, we didn't know that a nice atmosphere with good energy was actually a thing in the fashion industry. I laugh about it, but
No, it's absolutely true.
it's really important to me. So I like to be positive, but I am also very honest. If someone's not doing something that is working as well, you know, I would never say something's great if I don't think it's great.
How do you deal with that side of yourself when everybody is, and I'm sure that in your business, it's like you're still Victoria Beckham. So when you have to give some critical feedback or when something displeases you, what does that look like when you're less joyful? when you can't choose joy at the moment?
I'm very lucky that the people I have around me are genuinely the best at what they do. So it's very rare that I actually have to tell someone that I'm not happy with what they're doing, because it's taken a long time to find such remarkable talent. But if I don't like something, if I don't like a skirt, I'll be like, hey, I'm not really loving the skirt.
It's not a skirt.
Yeah, let's change up the skirt. But, you know,
But you don't have a problem giving feedback.
absolutely not. I mean, and I have to do that because for a long time, I wasn't outspoken enough because I was so in awe sometimes of the creative talent that I had, and I suppose I suppose I did listen to some of the noise, and I did have an element of, imposter syndrome.
Fair.
Really.
Fair.
And so sometimes I wouldn't speak up because I thought, well, what do I know? This person knows so much more than me because they have so much more experience. But then when I was put in that position by David, when Bauhaus, when he said to me, okay, if we're going to take this business forward and try and get it out of the mess that it's in, we need to put Victoria back into Victoria Beckham.
Fair. Do you believe that that's where some of the money challenges came from, like you not being in the centre of all the decision making?
I didn't know anything. I mean, sometimes I was having an obscene amount of lining fabrics for outerwear.
Yeah, I know. I watched that on the documentary because I was like, there was something about like a $70,000 plant bill, which I absolutely loved in a kind of posh way.
I didn't even know you could spend that much on
Me either. I was like, what kind of plant shit, a rainforest in there. But I get it. It's like, you can have some beautiful plants and some beautiful flowers, and you can get carried away with the fact that that's there and they're being watered. And so what now are you looking at to make sure that those things don't happen?
plastic plants. No, I'm actually joking because I hate plastic plants.
You can't have plastic. There's no way you have any plastic anything at all.
Well, I'm definitely not having those expensive plants anymore. I know to ask more questions.
Yeah.
And I have people around me now that recognise you should not be spending 70,000 on watering plants. I mean, I'm embarrassed to even say that, but I just didn't know any differently. I've never run a business before. I've learned a lot along the way, but I'm more on the creative side of things and just did not know any better.
I know that I've been in positions where I'm like, all of this is a business fundamental. But when you find something like that, of course you're like, okay, that's easy to cut. What else did you have to look at?
Teams. I had too many people working, so I had to bring my numbers down. Yeah, that's really difficult. It is because I'm a very loyal person, and I appreciate anyone that does anything for me, but I have no choice.
And
Thank you for watching the channel. Goodbye for now. Hey, guys.